Hi, I'm Rick Livingstone. I'm a child of God. I am a husband, a father, a grandfather, and to keep me busy, I'm managing director of a company in Cork and one in Birmingham. I was born in South Africa. We chose to move to Ireland on response to God's call to plant a church in 2007.
For a purpose.
My story is one of realizing that self-sufficiency is a form of rebellion. I grew up in a fairly well-off middle-class family. I had wanted for nothing, and I was fortunate enough that I was able to get fairly good grades at school, actually excellent grades at school, and I was very sporty, and I was given a bursary to go to university, so my future looked mapped out. It looked like it was fantastic. My mates thought golf was my God. I was my God. And when I got to university, the first thing I did was go out and start drinking. And I was drunk for the first 6 months of university. And that's when God arrested me. And he reminded me that, I might have everything together, but I actually was totally lost in rebelling against him and not having him as my leader. And that's when God stepped in and showed me a path for my life where he would provide, where he would take care, where he would give me challenges. And every time that I've stepped into following in the challenge that he's called me to, amazingly, he's provided. In 1999, we were involved in planting a church about an 8-hour drive away from where we were living. And up until the last month, before we moved our whole family, I didn't have any form of work or anything. And incredibly, the month before, someone phoned me out of the blue and said, meet the director, see if it was a company that I could work with. And God provided a job, and we were able to move into a totally different region and get started. Later on, when we were in Ireland and we had planted a church here, the recession hit, and my boss came to me again, a different company, different boss, different circumstances, and he said, by the end of the month, I have no work for you. So you can take this month to go and find work. Again, God had come through. The day before my boss approached me, someone had phoned me, headhunting me to take a new position close to where I lived. God had opened the door at the right time.
To bring you praise, to bring you joy, to bring you honor.
When I was a young Christian, God had spoken to me about being able to trust him for healing, to be able to trust him, to be able to allow him to move through us. It's not this great big explosion that I live in a life of a healing ministry. But when I trust God, when I trust him to do what he's spoken, and I step out in faith and I pray for someone, they get healed. Someone was deaf on a mission in India. We prayed for her. She received her healing. Another person had their arm completely locked. They couldn't move it. I prayed for the arm. She was healed, completely able to move her arm around. A fun story is of someone who came to visit us at church, and he arrived with 30% hearing in one ear and deaf in the other ear. He parked illegally outside the building, and the sign in front of his car said, if you park here, you will be clamped. During worship, I had the opportunity to go and pray for him. I prayed for him, and God released the healing, and he was miraculously healed, that he heard perfectly. So he left the building, hearing, healed, completely restored, with a wheel clamp on his car. That was a good thing. God's nature never changes, and he is so patient. He is so gracious, because I go through periods where I have super faith and I can dive into anything, and I'm faithful and I'm dedicated and I'm committed. And then I have other times where I just become lazy and I just start doing things automatically in my own way. And he patiently waits. He lets me go through a period of failing, bumping my head, not being victorious, doing the mediocre. And he waits for me to realize that I've got out of step with him. And when I step back and I say, okay, God, let's go again on your path, you take over again, suddenly things get right again and we move forward and we do things that I could never imagine.